a hot minute. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry, guys. Sometimes you just don't have the time to get caught up on the news and such. Or sometimes you're just stuck abiding to basically everybody else's schedules and not having time for your own schedule. But hey, don't worry. I'll make this up. I got a couple of car shoots coming this weekend, and depending on who you are, you might like them a lot. But that's not what we're talking about in this video today. Today, I'm just trying to get you updated on the whole NACS transition, as that is something that I've been covering basically since the beginning. I mean, seriously, I've been one of the biggest advocates about everybody switching to NACS because Tesla right here has developed this amazing connector and pretty much can't really be beat, to be honest, because when you compare it to the other connectors that we have in our market, this one in particular, for one, massive size difference, and two, this can do literally double the power of this. Crazy to believe, but it's true. And the list of benefits of using NACS just goes on and 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 on. You get the point. I've been one of the biggest advocates for the NACS transition out there. You wouldn't believe how excited I was the second I've learned that Ford had announced they're going to be switching to NACS, so that way they can access the supercharger network was their primary goal, but NACS had a bunch of other benefits to begin with. I was so excited. I took time out of my vacation in Maryland and basically found a scenic little spot and recorded a quick little video to post to this channel overnight. That was how excited I was because I knew it was that important. Obviously, I have not been the best at updating you guys on the NACS transition because, well, quite a lot has changed since then, and so that's all we're going to focus on with this video. Who has access to the supercharger network now? Who's getting access soon? What's the status of quo of everything? Let's just jump in. Alright, so the most recent news that I'm going to address is GM now has access to the supercharger network via an adapter, of course, because at the moment, Teslas are currently the only vehicles here in North America that have NACS ports on them. But again, we're gonna get to that in just a little bit. Alright, so I never actually had announced back when Ford had actually gained supercharger access that day, or when Rivian gained supercharger access. Let's talk about how we currently have vehicles here in North America with supercharger access via an adapter. So let's discuss that. Ford on February 29th, I believe. It was leap year this year. That's when Ford gained access to the supercharger network via a NACS to CCS adapter. Currently made by Tesla, and as of right now, that's pretty much the only adapter that everyone wants you to use. There are technically other options out there covered by out of spec and state of charge. Talking a lot about Electron and A to Z. Supposedly they've got some good stuff, but I can't fully recommend you buy them because they're not endorsed by anyone else, and as of right now it's currently against their terms of service to use those A to Z and Electron adapters, at least as of right now, primarily because at the moment we have no safety standard to test these two, and so that's the biggest risk of using adapters right now. There's just no safety standard to certify them to. It's almost done, but we're still waiting on that safety standard to be finalized. So as of right now, pretty much the only adapter available that is authorized for you to use is Tesla's own adapter. And actually, yeah, Tesla's the one who makes it. It's Ford and Rivian that are currently selling them or just providing them to their customers for free. And basically the way it works is effectively the same way you charge a Tesla. You basically show up, and unfortunately, because the charge port's in the wrong spot on all of their vehicles, block 2 stalls because of a short cable problem, which kind of is being addressed, but at an extremely slow rate, if I'm being honest. But it's basically, you show up, you open the charge port, and then you just plug in. Well, also you have to add an adapter to this process, but it's effectively just like that. You show up, you plug in the adapter, and you plug right in, and it does plug and charge. And CCS communications, because that's how NACS, the official standard, works. And then when you're done, you can either stop via the different apps, or actually I also heard that pushing the button on the Tesla handle will stop it from the charger's end, and then you can just unplug and be on your merry way. As of right now, Ford and Rivian have access to that, and just recently, last week, GM also has access to the supercharger network now as well. Unfortunately, starting a charge is not actually as simple. You first actually have to activate the charger. There's no plug-in charge functionality like Rivian and Ford. I don't know why there isn't any, and I don't know who to blame necessarily for that, though. It is kind of unfortunate that GM can't really plug and charge on Tesla superchargers, because they do plug and charge on the EVgo network, or is that auto charge? I don't know. No plug-in charge for GM vehicles. You still have to manually activate via your respective car's app or the Tesla app. But yeah, Fords, Rivians, and GMs now have the ability to charge on the supercharger network. Great! Have we had any more announcements of other automakers joining? No, that's the unfortunate part, because unfortunately, there are still some automakers out there who have not announced they were going to switch to NACS. For example, the one automaker nobody's ever heard of, VinFast. Yeah, that's a real electric car being sold today. Most people have no clue what it is. At least from what I can see, they are fully committed to still sticking with CCS. Not very smart of them, but then again, this is a brand that's had some issues with their launch of the VF8 and such here in the US. So will they switch to NACS eventually? I don't know. But as of right now, we do not know if they have any plans to do it or not. And there's a few other obscure brands that we probably never heard of before. Still, not everybody's on board with the whole NACS thing, and some want to stay with CCS. I personally think they are idiots for choosing to stick with CCS, but that's for obvious reasons. Okay, but now that we finally got some vehicles with the supercharger network on the NACS transition, who do you guys think is going to be next on the supercharger access via an adapter thing? Some people speculate it to be Volvo and Polestar, others Mercedes, and I'm sure Mercedes is pushing real hard to get on that list next, because from the sounds of it, Mercedes does care about their charging. Heck, they're building out their own network. I can just tell Mercedes wants to get on board this next transition as fast as possible. They were the first German automaker to announce it, actually. My guess is between Polestar / Volvo, they're basically the same brand, despite that they're two separate entities. I don't know. It's going to be a battle between those vehicles and the Mercedes. Who's actually going to be next? I don't know. Maybe Tesla will allow access to more vehicles between the time of filming and editing and posting this video. So who knows what will happen? But then we have to talk about the actual real important part to me, the actual transitioning the charge port of the car to the NACS port itself. As of right now, everyone's still using CCS. There's not a single non-Tesla vehicle in production. Yes, I know there are currently prototypes out there with NACS ports on them, but as of right now, there's not really a production vehicle out there aside from a Tesla that has the NACS port. That's why I'm saying Tesla's the only one. I'm talking production vehicles, not concepts and pre-production. Because as of right now, we currently got a race for who's actually going to be the first non-Tesla to actually put the charge port in the vehicle itself. As of right now, a whole bunch of people are losing this race at the moment. GM has apparently pushed it back to 2026. They said that they were going to use adapters in 2024 this year, and then by 2025 start actually shipping vehicles with the NACS port. Well, they backed that to 2026, so it turns out they're losing this race at the moment. I don't know about Ford, but because they've been having a lot of issues and have been needing to scale back due to financial stuff, there's a lot of corporate stuff meddling their whole electric vehicle production, which it really sucks. But I mean, hey, the business has to exist. I'm not faulting them for scaling back on producing EVs. Ford's gonna do what they gotta do to survive, okay? Whether it's the right decision or the wrong decision, I'll leave that for you to decide. But as of right now, here's the closest runners we have in this race to actually be the first non-Tesla vehicle to put a NACS port in a production vehicle. We've got two contenders at the moment. Lucid, because, well, the Gravity's supposed to come out at some point at the end of this year, but they're still waiting for 2025. So I guess they're in a bit of a debate right now. Do they start shipping CCS Gravities for a couple months and have all of those CCS Gravities instantly take in value the second they produce a NACS Gravity? This is an actual prediction. CCS vehicles are going to heavily depreciate once NACS vehicles come out, because NACS is the future of EV charging in the US. And as a result, CCS vehicles are not going to be pretty valuable. So is Lucid going to take a massive hit on the Gravity initially when it comes to the charge port situation? I don't know. They could produce CCS vehicles for just a couple months and then switch to NACS in 2025. They're trying to do it as early as possible. Hey, great on them. Great to see Lucid actually committing to using a better standard. But then we got the other contender that's trying to switch to NACS as fast as possible. In fact, as of today, we actually have a confirmed date on when supposedly these NACS ready vehicles are actually ready. Hyundai and Kia, specifically Hyundai at the moment. I'm not sure where Kia is in the pipeline along with Genesis, but Hyundai in particular actually has released images of a Hyundai Ioniq 5 with a NACS charge port natively integrated into it. And they're claiming by January 15th, so basically the middle of the month in January 2025, that is when Ioniq 5s will start shipping with NACS ports. They'll also be built here in the US, so they may actually qualify for the full $7,500 tax credit if you care about such a thing. I don't, because I am totally against the idea of tax credits on vehicles. I don't know. If it means anything to you, there's some information. I'm a bit shocked that it's these two who are currently in the race for getting the first first native NACS charge port on their vehicles, because both of these brands are high voltage brands. Like Lucid is obviously famous when it comes to their extreme high voltage architecture. They're like 920-ish volts when fully charged or something like that. It's crazy high. And then the Ioniq 5 is like 700, maybe close to 800. They're both 800 volt class vehicles. Meanwhile, the supercharger network as of today is pretty much only optimized for 400 volt class vehicles. And that's a problem for the Hyundai and the Lucid. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure why they're so eager to do it when at the moment the supercharger network doesn't have any high voltage support just yet. And as a result, both of those vehicles are going to get extremely limited charging speeds due to this problem. I mean, are other charge point operators starting to release NACS cables? I mean, ChargePoint has some out there, but once again, ChargePoint doesn't really have any high power, well, units aside from their Express Plus. But as of right now, I actually have yet to see an Express Plus unit with the NACS cable on it. So far, all I've seen is either a CCS and CHAdeMO combo or dual CCS units like that Express Plus I saw back in Richmond, Kentucky at the Buc-ee's station. I have no clue who's got high voltage NACS at the moment on their chargers, aside from a few random providers with not exactly the most powerful charging stations out there. Well, I take that back. Supposedly Alpitronic is in the process of getting chargers in the ground starting mid-October, and they'll have NACS. So yay! I don't know. This whole transition has been so weird, so wacky, and so bonkers. Sometimes I don't make videos because I'm trying to figure out what's going on in this transition. It's so confusing and chaotic. But as of right now, this is the one update I have. A lot of prototype / pre-production vehicles are starting to put NACS charge ports in them, so that's exciting. We're just waiting on actual charging equipment out there to have the native connector on them, so that way, in theory, we don't need to continue this whole adapter train. I hate the idea of adapters, especially when it comes to the application of which they're being used. I get it, they're a necessary evil, but still, I hate the idea of messing around with adapters. But that's what happens when the whole industry first started off using a terrible standard, and we have to correct their course. It's annoying, but we'll get there. Soon enough, this connector will die. That's my update on the NACS transition. I'll have some more exciting videos coming later, as long as those vehicles don't get sold over the week. That's for another day. All right, thank you for watching. Do me a favor and interact with stuff below. My name is DeWolf, Random Alpha, signing out.